You got to learn to keep that warning up a little bit longer. Oh, well, I got to read that was warning. The following video Oh, okay.
There you go. So we do got to get that a little longer, Tom, for sure. That's
just use the picture instead of the video, the overlay.
Anyway, it is now Thursday night, 8:30 Eastern Time. Real Talk with Tom. We are here. We are now. My two co-hosts, my co-pilots. Kayla, she's sick tonight, and Bill's on vacation. So I have my two family members here, Tom and Taryn, to help me out.
Hello. It's Tom Ass.
Tom Ass tonight.
Yes,
where's the
Tom
glasses,
Ass.
man?
I'm trying to do it without them.
You got to put the extra S on the end.
Now, see, Dom said that too, and you cannot define me by the way I pronounce my name, despite how it is syllabically. If that's a word.
Is that a word?
I just made it up. I made it up.
And I love it.
I made syllabically.
All right, so tonight we have a great guest.
Sorry, Taryn, go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just still, saying how good Tom did with that word. That's all. Stupid. Go ahead.
All right.
I pronounced it correctly when I made it up.
You both are very familiar with our guest tonight. He's known as the Ghost Boy of Geneseo, Christopher de Cesare. All right. So there's the book. He is an author, a lecturer. He is also a duel-certified high school teacher. I actually was talking to Taryn about this the other night. I did some notes.
Screw it. I'll just do it.
Pretty much everywhere. So, without further ado, let's bring Chris in.
Welcome.
Oh, welcome.
Hi, Chris.
Thank you.
Yes, it is I, Chris, which is monosyllabic, one syllable.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wait.
Monosyllabic, syllabic, I have syllables.
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 You put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yeah.
We shall see. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, we're so happy you're here.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the story of C2D1. There's Patricia. My mom's in here. She's saying hello and watching. Chris, meet my mom. She's everywhere up in BB.
Hello.
Here she is.
Your son's pretty cool.
That's Mama Two Books.
C2D1. Let's get into this. The start of it, my friend.
Well, sometimes it's hard to tell when things begin and end. Life is not always so black and white. And the first thing I recall happening was hearing a voice. They call it disembodied voice nowadays. I don't know the terminology back then. Call my name, whisper my name, Chris, like that. And that's the first time I thought something was odd. My friend Jeff, who lived next door to me in the dorm in Erie Hall, had brought me to see Ed and Lorraine Warren the week prior. And they did a presentation at the college in Geneseo, and it was pretty amazing. I didn't really follow anything the paranormal nature. I thought my dad was a science teacher. We talked about things you can prove, things like that, Immanuel Kant empiricism. But it was an interesting show because they were entertaining, and they had these things called EVPs where they played these sounds that were supposedly demonic in nature or spiritual. They had these slides, black and white slides of images that they claimed were ghosts or spirits. And while I didn't necessarily think that was the case, it was fascinating entertainment value wise. So Star Wars, Star Trek aren't real per se, but we have these movies and these action figures and these comic books that make us feel like it is. And so I put my skepticism to the side. It's not real, but it's still fun to watch. And it was free. Why not?
Right.
As Lorraine spoke, and I always say this because this is how I thought.
My precious.
Lorraine Warren was like Elvis Presley, the paranormal, and Ed was like Colonel Parker, and he'd get out there and announce these things, and she'd walk out very elegant with a straight back, her hair up, and gown on, and she just commanded the stage. And the one thing I could say about her, and she was 39 years old, was that you knew that she believed what she said. You might agree with her what she said, but you knew she believed it. When someone believes what they tell you, it makes it more interesting. You're more involved in that moment to say, well, what is the experience then? Why does she believe it so much when you can't prove these things?
Right.
And I remember during the course of the presentation, she made a comment and looked my way, because I thought it was my way. And she said, like attracts like. I thought, what does that mean? I guess like magnets and polar ends and opposites, but I can work with that scientifically. At the end of the presentation, Ed said, come up, meet Lorraine, come on up. And my friend Jeff thought this was exciting. They were on TV from Amityville Horror, all these shows and stuff. They're world renowned. So he wanted to go up as well. So we waited to get online and we walked up to the stage. As soon as I got on the stage, Lorraine Warren said, "I won't shake your hand." And I thought there was someone behind me making a ruckus, like someone misbehaving. She looked behind me and just looking at me. And I thought, that's weird. And she said, "I don't want to know my future." And I had no idea what she was actually mentioning at that moment. Ed put his hands on me and pushed me off the stage. Boom, boom, boom. And that was my meeting. You know, I thought, well, this is horrible. You know, I didn't pay for it, but I had, unfortunately, an embarrassing scenario where she would shake my hand. It's kind of rude. And then I threw out the stage.
Yeah.
So afterwards, they were going to go on a tour of the college looking for activity. Most places have the story of Woman in White or Indian Graveyard or some story of that where you go there and you investigate. And Jeff thought, cool. I said, I am not going with them. They're rude. There's no way I'm going to do anything. I'm going back to my room. And so Jeff, sensing my frustration and my, you know, when you're a kid, you want to be cool.
Yeah.
You're a jock, a stoner, a geek, a nerd. You define yourself. Because off your stage, it's not cool in front of all your people you care about.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah. Especially by Ed and Lorraine Warren.
yeah. And so,
Right.
Jeff said, well, maybe she senses something, or, you know, in you. Maybe she can read you in some way. Are you sensitive? I'm like, I am now. My feelings are really hurt. I'm very sensitive. But he was talking about the idea of
They were like the rock stars of the field, you know?
Yeah.
Honestly, they really were. You know, they were the people I'm in search of. They're the people that's incredible. They were the ones, you know. And like I said, Jeff really, you know, idolized them to a great degree. And I came to understand why later on. But at the time, I was not very happy. And Jeff took the time to say, listen, look back to your past. Is there anything that could have happened? He tried to challenge me to think back to what she might have seen. One event, a week or so later, I'm in my room typing, typewriter, ding, looking at a term paper, and I hear somebody say, Chris. And then door's open, come on in. I'm working on something. Chris, the door just open. The door's not locked. Come on in. I'm working. Chris, I'm like, oh, what the hell? You know, I don't know if the kids are drunk or if they're making a joke on me. So I went to the door. Nobody, any direction. I thought, well, you know, sound travels. I look out the window up at the second floor and nothing. So I figured,
And the voice didn't sound familiar.
no, I was like Chris, just like that. So I put headphones on. So I figured I can't hear them. They can't bother me. Control your environment, right? Science, control your environment. I put on Sammy Hagar. I can't drive 50. Right? The second verse of that song, I hear in the headphones over the music, Chris, bang. I throw him on the ground like that is crazy. I turned the stereo. I ran out of that room. Like I went to the dining hall to get some food because I'm going nuts. That can't be. There's no way that can be happening. So, you know, I had run marathons as a kid. I was a nationally ranked runner, and I saw people destroy themselves out of nerves and have nervous breakdowns and not piss themselves properly. If you don't control how you feel and how you react, it's dangerous in 26 miles. You know, and so I'd always been the kind of person to say, I'm not going to panic. And at that moment, I panicked, and I don't want to say anything to anybody because, geez, I'm losing my mind. Is there a gas stick in the room? Are there drugs in my food? Practical joke, hallucination, SAD. There's got to be an explanation for it because there aren't ghosts in the way we understand them. There's Casper and Jesus and nothing in between, as I thought back in the day, you know. Mm-hmm. And following night, I'm in my room, and my roommate, his name is Paul, said, you know, please stop doing that. I'm doing what? He goes, you're making shadows above my head. And I'm across the room. I said, well, Paul, how am I doing that? He goes, I don't know. This place is crazy. So he left. I locked the door behind him. I sat down. And I remember I was reading Runner's World magazine. And I had a box of hot tamales, the cinnamon flavors like Mike and Ike. And I'm right, because, you know, pretty much your mouth, I lose flavor fast. Right?
No way, it's too spicy for me.
I like them, cinnamon. Ooh, yeah.
Cinnamon.
Plus, it was cold place. It's freezing cold, so you need a little spice in your life. Anyway, over my shoulder, I see a person sitting there, which is impossible. It's a small college dorm room. The door's in front of me. It's locked. I'm on the second floor, about 25 feet above the ground level. The window's locked. Oh, it's February, right? And I see someone over my shoulder. I thought, that's impossible. You're hallucinating. Count to 10. Count to 10. And so I started to count. 1, 2. I got to 7, and I saw it move a bit. So I turned my head, and that's when I saw this thing, this image, standing in my room by the wall, just like this.
Yeah.
And the odd thing about that's scary enough, but it was coming out of the stereo. My roommate Paul's stereo, which I plugged the headphones into, was about maybe 2.5 feet tall. Its legs and hips were coming out of the stereo from it and up, kind of like the Vision and WandaVision. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not possible. And so I told myself, you're not seeing this. There's no
So the whole figure was only 2.5 feet tall.
No, that's where the stereo stopped. So it's getting.
I
In
see.
other words, the legs are almost
Okay.
like concrete, like
I
they're
thought you were
rising
saying-
from the stereo. So like what's called intangible, like inside the
Yeah,
stereo.
yeah.
So that's not right. And so I thought, just believe this is not happening. And then the head moved forward. I screamed because I knew it was happening. I threw the candy in the air and oh my God, help! I out that door so fast, down the hall, first door, boom, 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 help me! Oh my God, help! You know, I've always been a happy, fun-loving kid. I told you I like to dance, I like to have fun, and I like to go baseball games. I was never really upset by things. And so when people heard me screaming, they let me in the door, and I fell on the ground, and I said, I panicked. And the reason I said that is because that was the fear. I panicked. No matter what, if you're a surgeon, if you're a doctor, if you're a parent, if you're a friend, if you panic, you help nobody. You know, and so in that moment, panicking was worse than seeing the ghost.
Right. And this is where life changed for you, right? I mean, like you said, you wanted to be a normal kid. You are a runner, an athlete, pure athlete. I've read your bio. And so this is where life changed. You didn't want to be centered as, you know, a drug addict, as you said. You didn't want to be pinpointed or anything like that because you didn't want to tarnish your career.
Yeah, listen, my grandparents, they mixed paint in factories. They carried crates in warehouses. They were blue-collar people who lived together coming over from Italy and Ireland in the, 1900 or 1910, 1920.
Smurf.
And I was going to college. I was going to make something of myself. Very proud of me to go to college. No one did that, you know, and I didn't want to go there. And I was on a scholarship. I didn't have a lot of money. So I went my writing scholarship. So I couldn't afford any mistakes. The last thing I need is to have a nervous breakdown and not run and not have my scholarship and not finish college and go back and they say pump gas back in the days that you do, dig ditches. You know, people believed in me and I wanted to make them proud. I was proud to have family that believed in me. And so I don't want this. And my dad would tell me, listen, you can know that Neptune is there. Not with the naked eye, with a telescope. We have a machine that lets you see that planet. It has a tool. We can see paramecium, not with the naked eye, but we have a microscope that lets you see things you can't see. So those things we can establish are there through science. But there are no ghost goggles. Put your goggles on. Hey, it's grandma.
That would be awesome.
That way.
I would love that.
Right. And so I would too. But so he said, don't invest yourself in those things because there's no tangible ground to stand on. And you want to have a career. You want to make something of yourself. So I was kind of dissuaded from talking about that, aside from like Halloween time. I didn't want this. I didn't want this. I really had aspirations to go to the Olympic Games. One of the runners I beat when I was a senior in high school, his name was John Troutman. Look him up. He ran the 10,000 meter finals in the Olympics in Barcelona. The finals. He got 6th in the world. So I beat him in high school. So it was a pipe dream for me. I really wanted to become that person in the Wheaties box to say, look, you can do this. Believe in yourself. You can rise from any situation you want and make something. And so have this invisible thing, this dead thing, this craziness in my room was a horror story for me. People like those things. That's why I might go investigate. I would have nothing to do with it. But sometimes life finds you.
Yep, absolutely.
In those times, it wasn't that popular as it is today. Now, I want to dive into the first sighting of this thing. I want your feelings of the anxiety that you went through that night, knowing you had to sleep in that room, be in that room. Like, what were your thoughts and emotions going into that first night, into the next steps? Like, how did that? Like, did you sleep with your eyes open? Like, tell me about that emotion.
Well, I knew from my athletic career that you had to sleep or you would fall apart. You had to eat or you fall apart. Those are required no matter how you felt about things. So how you feel was secondary. So I had to try to survive in that moment. And so what I did was the brave thing. Under my covers entirely with a hole for mouth to breathe air in. I hid in my bed with a air hole for my mouth so I can breathe out. That's what I did. So I could stay in that spot, not see anything, not hear anything, out of sight, out of mind. Now, not a logical thing, but at that point in time, I'd gone from logic to emotion, which I didn't like. So I was trying to do a shuffle. How do I get from point A to point B? And once again, control who I was. Because listen, again, we pretend to be things we're not sometimes. We put on airs. But the true self we have, we don't always share with people because it can be painful. It could be embarrassing who we really are. So as a teenager, especially, you don't want people to know what you're really feeling, especially a guy back in that day. I'm good, guys. Let's watch the Jets. That's how you talked about your feelings, And I didn't like the fact I was forced to handle my fear. Didn't like it, But luckily, I had friends around me. I think because I'd been a good person, they were good back to me, that through this ordeal, stayed most of them around and began to assist me in trying to understand what's happening.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, at least you had some guidance.
Yeah, some people don't.
Yeah. And they did learn it all on their own.
Yes.
You know, I don't know what experience in order it was, but I remember you had a really crazy experience in the bathroom.
It was
And-
a fun one too. It's not the kind you think about with college. It was not the fun kind. Yeah.
Right. That because when I had you on my show, I remember you talking about that, and that kind of like stuck with me a little bit because I don't know how you didn't like check yourself into a like and because that would just totally make me go and because I would be like, what? I don't even understand this. I'm gonna go check into Ancora right now.
Yeah.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I knew back then a little bit about mental illness in terms of because I took psychology classes that oftentimes they would first sedate you or relax you so you can talk about your feelings. That often meant giving you drugs. I did not want to be drugged up, especially
Right.
if this thing was around. So my reality was different now. It had changed. And so when you talk about someone with an addiction, for example, with drugs, alcohol, gambling, any addiction, they see things differently than you see things. And you can condemn them, but nothing changes. You can worry for them and nothing changes. The best thing you can do is reach out your hand and say, I want to meet you halfway. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? How can I help you extract yourself from that fear, that pain, that anger? And the surviving the ghost experience makes you a better teacher now, of special education students, because most of them have been abused or abandoned or neglected, and so in an odd way, that experience has helped me later on in life. Not that I wish it happened. I wish I could go back and erase everything, but you can't do that. Cancer happens, divorce happens, war happens, and you have to hope that you're prepared in those moments to survive them.
My apologies, by the way, Chris. Sometimes when you're on the mobile version of StreamYard, after a while, everybody's voice starts sounding like more and more staticky as you let the time go on. So you sometimes have to go out and come back in. So my apologies to you and everyone watching. I'm sorry if I keep popping in and out.
And hi, Mike. How are you?
Likely stories probably put OTB right now. Sorry.
We were just touching base, like with reality, with what goes on between reality and entertainment. That's a key part. That's one thing I've written here. That's a subject you go over a lot between what ghost hunting is, and then what reality truly is, what you went through, what people when they want to go to war, and what the reality is when they actually go. I was listening to one of your interviews about that. Touch base on that because I think you were kind of linking to that.
Yeah, well, one of the cool things of being human is that we're unique, and so that allows us to be different and creative and express ourselves in our own way. But the challenge is communicating to people who think different than you think. That's a challenge. So you can have, like I use an example, like a baseball game. It's the Phillies versus the Pirates, who's a Pennsylvania rivalry, right? Let's say the Phillies win 3-2. Okay.
Unlikely.
Unlikely, you're right. But you can dream. If think of Mike Schmidt again, people like that back in the day.
I miss Mike Schmidt.
If you think about that, the Phillies and Pirates fans see the same exact information, the same data, the same hits, outs, and runs. The Phillies fan says, good game, and here's why. The Pirates fans say, bad game, and here's why. See the same exact thing. One person's happy, one person's angry. That's the challenge of being a human being, is trying to combine your perspectives, or share them in an appropriate way. And now when you deal with things that are not seen necessarily in terms of like provable, or you hear this thing I hear, now you're really out there. People talk about the veil, and some psychics and some people who are gifted can pierce the veil and hear things and see things. And that is their claim. That's still harder though than talking to someone on the phone or in person. And so I always say to people, listen, if you haven't had a hard enough time talking to people while you're alive, it's probably harder talking with them when they've passed on. So go slow. Take your time. Don't assume things. Try to listen to what they're saying rather than to assume what you think they should be saying. Because then who's helped by that? And so, yeah, it's a tough thing. And look at love, for example. I mean, how do you prove that? Is it a chemical test? Look at...
Can only be proved by the two people involved in that.
Yeah, and marriage is 50-50. Flip a coin. A ring is on your finger. What does the ring mean? A ring's on your finger. That comes off really easy.
Right.
What is it really? I mean, think about that, right? Really, see, if you think about it, probably what it means is, hello there, is that if someone likes to hear your voice and spend time with you and be happy with you and think about it, they probably love you. And that should be enough. People should say, why do you love me? Well, enjoy it. Be loved.
That's why.
And when people share their experiences, it's okay to be skeptical. It's still, that probably can't happen, but don't crush them, please. Something happened to them. Something's occurred, whether it's tangible, intangible, at least hear them out.
Yeah.
And it could be something where they're depressed. It could be something psychological, but it could be something there that it can't be explained, need help with. And just being a friend sometimes is the best thing you can do. I don't get involved in like this proof and that proof. Well, that can't be 7, that got to be 6.
Yep.
You do that for 25 years and get nowhere except for an argument. The bottom line is I try to respect people, listen to them, and if they find value in my words, I'm appreciative.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. In case you guys didn't know, Chris is also a motivational speaker.
No, that's not true.
Like right now, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna.
You can do it.
I'm gonna like be a good person.
Did you say that's not true after she said that?
Yeah, I'm not a motivational. I mean,
That's kind of demotivational. I'm just,
if it's inspirational, it's because the events challenged me to be a better person. But I don't.
Kenny Biddle's here.
Excellent.
Hi, Kenny.
Did a great
We haven't
job.
seen that guy in forever, man. Where the hell has he been?
Yeah, where you been, Kenny?
That's true.
So you speak of attachment, right? Let's go into that. You talk about marriage with attachment. Is this something that you think happened in that dorm room? Do you think that this thing felt attached to you, that it was able to talk to you, communicate with you in a place that maybe it was not comfortable with someone else? Is this a case of what went on?
I like that question because you can apply it to almost anything. You know, you ever see a person in a relationship where you say, that's not going to work? You feel bad, but you know it's not going to work, but they can't see it. And they're being abused, manipulated, something, but you can't, they don't listen to you. Because sometimes it's hard in the moment to be objective. Where you step aside, you say, you know what? Oh, come on, you can. Then years later, they go, so sorry, I was angry. I should have seen the signs, but you can't. During that haunting, I wasn't trying to analyze it. I was trying to survive it. I was trying to just get by day. That's the honest truth. I didn't want to know who it was, why it was there. I wanted it gone. And one of the reasons I felt that way is because I felt as though I was losing my place and where I needed to be in life, which was a college student who was passing and an athlete who could run. And I lost both those abilities. In fact, Taryn mentioned about the attack in the bathroom there. That happened on March 15th. And some things you never forget. It was 3:28 in the afternoon, you know, and a priest had come to the room. C2D1 was the room. It was the C building, second floor, D quad, first room of Erie Hall in Geneseo State University, the campus. And he blessed the room. After he did that, for whatever reason, whether it's psychosomatic, whether it is spiritual, the ghosts seemed to avoid the room. But I got angry. So I had a safe zone, but I got angry. And so it began to attack people in other parts of the dorm. It went after Beth, it went after Judy, after Brian, and they all called me to bring it back to him. And so during this process, when I was safe in my room because of this blessing, how that works, I don't know scientifically, but it seemed to have a good effect. This thing got angry. And so I remember, I'll never forget, I went on this long run to the countryside, the Alfalfa Fields, Geneseo, and Avon, New York. I ran like 10, 12 miles, came back at the shower, and I'm in the shower, and it got dark. I thought, was the power out? And the light was still on. I saw above me in the ceiling the silhouette of this thing with the tilted head. I thought, no. You're just seeing that. Somebody's looking at a cloud. You know, you see it's an image in the cloud. I must have rubbed my eyes, and in my mind, I'm fearing that it's not there. Then it moved. And so I followed it out of the bathroom. I almost lost my footing because the floor's all wet. And I saw it, and I thought, wait, it can't be there. The light source is next to it. It should be, my shadow's on the ground where my feet go. There can't be a shadow next to the light source. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's probably the ghost. Okay, calm down. Turn the water in the shower off. There's no flood. Call the priest back and say, round 2, let's do this again. I got back in the shower, turned the water off, and bang. It honestly felt like I was stabbed in the back with a knife. And I use that precisely because if you cut your finger making food, it's like a nice clean cut. You don't feel it at first. It's numb. But you know soon the pain will come, right? It's just a matter of time. So it felt like I was stabbed. I was pushed off the ground a bit. My face hit the wall. I could taste the soap they used to clean the shower with. Like, oh, well, my teeth are broken out. And I turned to fight. Because, hey, listen, you come after me. I'm going to, I'm not a nasty guy, but I'll defend myself, whoever this is. I punched out from behind. I knocked the shower curtain off the railing. It fell to the ground. It was empty. And I remember screaming, who are you? What are you? Show yourself, you coward. Show yourself. Nothing, just the water dripping boop, in the shower. So I thought, the knife in my back. Did I pull it out? Would it be blood loss? So I looked in the mirror, and I saw my back. There were these 3 roughly parallel lines, the scratches. They were bleeding. I'm like, well, what the hell is that? And I thought to myself, that guy's in trouble. I didn't feel like it was me. It's like, he's not going to make it. And I thought, wait, that's me. And then you feel bad for yourself in a moment of horror. You know, you're like, what did I do wrong? Am I being punished in some way? You know, and then I thought, well, wait a second. Look at history. How many millions died in the concentration camps? They probably prayed. They probably hoped. They played the piano. They dreamed. They fell in love. He didn't save them. He's not going to save me. And so I don't know if it was the pain or the cold or the nervousness. I remember falling into my knees, then face down on the floor, just face down on this cold tile floor. And I couldn't move. And I remember that movie, Tom Hanks, Castaway?
Yep.
Got Ball Wilson. He's like, he identifies.
I never saw that.
Memories like, what else? You're like,
That's an awesome movie.
it's just a ball. You shouldn't be crying. Why am I? You know, because humans sometimes in desperation attach themselves to things to survive, to any hope to live. And as I lay on the floor, there was one droplet, one bead of water hanging off my wrist from the shower. And in that water, I could see the room inverted. I thought, refraction. Water refracts light. That's science. Then it fell. I thought, where'd my water go? But I thought, wait a second. Gravity pulled down the water. That's science. I looked my eyes down to the floor, and the tile was darker for the moisture from the water. That's science. So I knew science applied. But I couldn't explain everything else around this moment. I thought, I can't do this. I can't put my brain back together again every single day. I'm going to get tired. I'm going to get worn out. It's going to win. And I'm going to die. I don't want to die, but I can't live this way. It was a strange feeling to have. I remember I told myself, don't make a face, because my mom will see me in the casket with a bad face. So I thought to myself, make mom happy. You know, I'll put a nice face on, just rest here until the end comes. And that's a very weird place to be. And at that moment, because I'd screamed moments before, Jeff had opened the door. He came in. He saw me on the floor bleeding. And Beth came in. They put a towel around me. They dragged me out of the room. We want to go to the hospital, you know. And it's so tough, you know, if somebody has a hard time reading, they're dyslexic, they can't read properly. People think, well, they're stupid. No, they're not. They just can't explain to you how their words are arranged, but they're often brilliant people. So in that moment, I felt dyslexic. I can't explain to you what I'm seeing and feeling, but I know it's real for me. And going to the hospital. I was like, no, we're not going to the hospital. You're bleeding from your back. You have gashes. I'm not going to the hospital. I said, I'll fight you guys. Now think about that. Person needs intervention. What do they always say? No, I won't. You don't let.
Right.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. Here I am in an intervention. They're intervening around me. And I understand that they love me, but they don't know the facts.
Right.
You know, that's why it became important later on in the haunting for Jeff and Paul and Ed and Dr. Kastler and everybody to get involved to get the photographs and the eyewitness accounts and the EVPs, because then they began to say, oh my gosh, there's something happening here. Thankfully, we didn't go to the hospital because I would have had to fight them. And instead, we sat there and we got peroxide, cotton swabs, and Band-Aids. And for 47 minutes, and I sat in my room for 2 days with no shirt to the bandages off and healed up. Because I was not going to the hospital where they would judge me. It was time, believe me. You know, it's
do you, I think I asked you this before, but do you still have experiences with this thing?
Nothing like that. Thank God. Nothing, you know.
Because you talk about it a lot. I'm sure you do a lot of interviews. I'm sure you're talking about a lot. You write about it. You know, it's like,
yes,
if you're in that and you're living it and it's like constant and you're talking about it a lot.
It's cathartic. It's cathartic for me. I hid it for 25 years. I hid it. I remember walking across the street saying, watch for the cars. If you get killed, no one knows what happened to you. Because I knew it meant something beyond me. It wasn't about me. It was about what can happen to people, what can happen in a crisis, how you survive things. I knew it was beyond that. So it wasn't until 2009, 25 years later, basically, where I began to share this with folks that are interested in it. And then when I realized, people said, oh my gosh, you should share more. You should put this out there. I'm like, what? People like stories of survival. They like experiences where you learn about being a human being and trying to, you know, survive through a crisis, whatever it may be. And so I found that it served a positive goal to share. But I only shared the haunting experience once I could do so by saying, listen, I survived and so can you. Talking about the temperature in the room, talking about how many bones in the skeleton, talking about what day it was, that's nothing. It's just data. But to maybe share something that can be applied to everybody. That was the way I shared the story.
You have a question on the board.
One thing or two things that somebody might be able to relate to, and you can help, you know?
Patricia McDowell, was it contained in that room or was it in that area?
Initially, Yeah, initially it was only in the room, but once the priest blessed the room, it began to move around. That's the way it was. And I can't tell you how a blessing works. I mean, he had holy water, he read biblical verses, he did the prayer to Saint Michael, he had candles. So what you see in movies, he called it a blessing, not an exorcism. He called it a blessing because I wasn't possessed. But I remember the priest said to me, his Father Charlie Manning, I'm here for you and the spirit. So you find rest and it finds rest. So I thought that's a fascinating thing because I care less about the spirit. So I was very happy with his graciousness toward both parties, if you will. But once he blessed the room, it seemed to respect that. But he couldn't come back, and it's a public building. You can't bless 35 rooms. It doesn't work that way. And I realized that's the misuse of his abilities. He helped me with the room. I'm thankful it's good enough. And so then we turned to science, and Dr. Lawrence Kastler, psychology professor at Geneseo, began to help us gather evidence with EVPs and things like that. So then it turned a bit towards science, which Jeff liked too, because we had things tangible. In fact, Jeff began to take notes every day, began to make notes. And so day after day, he had a journal, and he would just take note after note after note so we could look at things and say, okay, what are the times? What are the events? What are the date? What did we have for dinner? What did we talk to? What are their impulses here? And so that was a great thing, because then I share the notes with people and not talk about it, and then possibly feel the emotion again. So brilliant on Jeff. John Jeff Unger, he was kind of like a Hans Holzer in a quiet little way in a college.
I was thinking that as you were showing the book, and I think that was all that I was hearing in my head. Because
of him, we have the pictures and things and all the evidence, because Jeff said, someday, Chris, you'll want this. I don't want it. And when we first got the picture of the ghost, of the skeleton image there by my bed,
I have that. I'm going to put that up right now. Let's actually show that, so we everyone knows what they're
thanks, Tom.
Yeah, that was a good one, Tom. I was at work and I trying to get it. All right, so this is the picture.
Yeah.
Skeletal structure. You can see to the left shoulder.
Yeah, that's Bill Rogers in the poster, a marathon runner, and there's that blue pillow. That was Jesus to keep me safe at night. I was scared. You'll see by the beam as opposed to you see the pelvis, the spine, the rib cage, the sternum, top of the head to the right. Jeff had said, "Do you see it?" I said, "Yes, above my pillow." He said, "I don't see it." So, well, I'll take the picture. I took the picture, and then that's where it came out. He was impressed that nothing.
So you saw that before you took the picture?
Yes, I said it's right in the corner of the room. It's looking at me. So if you say it, take the picture. So I took that one picture. Is when I took, and it came out, and there it was. And he took it to a biology textbook and looked at the bones, and it's turning away. So, but he was enthused.
Where was it?
That was in C2D1 Valentine's Day 1985. In the corner of the room.
Wow, 85.
Thanks for that.
Ouch. I was born that year, actually.
I was 10.
Now, Patricia has a question here. We're going to get into that in a second. She wants to know, was it a spirit or a demon? We're going to get into that, but I want to know a question first. Before you had this experience growing up, did you believe in the afterlife? Were you religious? Did you believe in like the heaven or hell structure? Was it even a thought process? And then you go for this.
Yeah. I was very visual as a kid. I loved visual arts. I loved things I could graph. I'd look at the stars at night and things on my graph paper and mark where Mars was. I would go to church every Sunday because my church had stained glass windows, all different colors, and the sun would move across the morning sky and it would light up different people's faces, purple and blue and green. I love the experience of seeing the light wash over the people. That's why I like church. It was calming. I thought there's beauty in life. And so meanwhile, the Vietnam War, still people talking about that and impeachment, or talking about all horrible things in the world and divorce. But I went to the church. I could see on the wall these supposed saints, people who did good things to help other people, and have the lights watch for people who were looking for answers, looking for hope, looking for an answer to the future and afterlife. And I thought, this is a good place to be. So I wasn't a scholar in terms of biblical studies, and I didn't actually like, all the prayers, but I liked the moments in the church where it seemed like the beauty of the world was shining through. I liked that a lot because, people created the windows in this environment to create the light that shone upon ourselves. I like that concept.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that. So it's more of an aesthetic thing for me. As far as ghosts go, I didn't realize when I was younger, very young, maybe 3-4 years old, I would know things. My mom told me years later that I would just know things. Grandma's going to call. No, she's not. Oh, hi, Mom. Dad was done at work. He hurt his knee. Don't say things like that. Came back to pants are ripped. He hurt his knee. But my mom didn't make a big deal of those things. She just said, okay. And it wasn't until I began to share my experience. She said, when you were younger, you used to be able to see like auras on people's heads when you're 3 years old and predict the future. I'm like, really? But she didn't want to make me feel like I was different. I like being part of I grew up in Queens, New York, have a Jewish area, and we were Christians. So I asked menorah. I wanted a menorah in my window to fit with. I always wanted to fit in with people. So I never wanted to be different. I wanted to fit in and be one of the team, a team player.
Right.
So, I never wanted to challenge the status quo. And I can tell you one other thing happened when I was younger, and that's when my great grandpa passed away. I was hitting a wiffle ball around the backyard. 6 months later, I thought I saw him in the backyard. He said, "Shh, don't tell anybody." Like, shh, like I won't say anything. But that was it. I could have been hallucinating. I was a young kid. I could have been overtired. It wasn't until Geneseo where I thought, okay, wait a second. This seems to be in some way real. Just like love, just like Star Wars. In some way, this is real, and I got to figure out what it means. But first, I have to survive it because it's violent. It was very violent.
It's kind of funny when you bring up the intuitive thing, because when I was studying you the other day, and you kind of made me laugh here. I was studying you early in the morning. It's like 4 a.m. and I couldn't say your friggin' last name to save my life. So I'm going through all these videos to like, what the hell is his last name? How do I say it? I'm gonna fuck this up. I know it right on the interview. It was like a couple hours later. Chris writes me on the messenger, "This is how you say my last name." I'm like, "You gotta be shitting me!" And he broke it down, and that's how I did it today. That's why I put the book up first, because I had the cheat sheet on the back of the book on how to say his last name, exactly how he told me to do it.
And thus my comment about the cheat sheet in the beginning when he held up the book when he showed you the front.
So, and then you said, "Oh, well, I kind of felt you." I'm like,
yeah, I can feel your pain, guys. So, if you can be sensitive in terms of people's emotions or feelings, it can't hurt you. You don't have to involve yourself in it, but just reading a room is important. How are you feeling today? Your coworker, to a child in your family, a neighbor. There's no harm in being nice to people or just caring. What you do with it's your choice. There's no rule that says you have to help people, but you can. And so, whatever this is in my head that I have that makes me see some of these things, I've learned to stop fighting it and just take the good with the bad and just embrace it, because it's
Chris, that's really hard when you live in New Jersey.
I'm not far from there. Not too far. Let's see from where I am in New York.
Well, see, I'm on the other side of Jersey. I'm in Philly.
Yeah, but that's better than Jersey.
Philly?
Yeah.
That depends on the part of Philly.
The Garden State. Give it some
and
love.
the part of Jersey. Now, if you're comparing Camden and Kensington, apples, oranges.
My great grandmother, whom I didn't meet, my grandma's mom, was a snake charmer and fortune teller in the circus. We have pictures of her with the crystal ball and the boa constrictors and things like that. So, and my great great grandma read tarot cards. She had the Italian wooden tarot cards. So it was in the family, but again, I didn't know any of that because it wasn't legit in terms of like a business in America. And so I was in my late 30s. My parents said, "Oh, just so you know," I'm like, "What?" I never knew. They didn't want to lead me down that road. I think they sensed it might happen. I think they tried to keep me on the straight and narrow. That usually works. Unfortunately for them, it didn't, because that happened at the college right before the war came. And
we're gypsies. What the hell?
That's something.
You had said something in an interview. It actually kind of blew my mind the way you explained it. You guys might have heard of this show. It was actually called the Paranormal Brew.
Yeah, I did hear about that show.
Oh, you know what? I think. No, I thought it sounded familiar.
That was Flip like Dom.
You were asked if you are a ghost hunter yourself, and the way you worded it is you love baseball, and you compared it to baseball. So explain that. That was so well put, the way you put that on the show that day.
Yeah, well, if you're an active baseball fan, you're never happy unless you win that 1 year. And then you always want improved pitching and better hitting, fire the manager, he's a bum. That athlete makes much money. But when someone retires, like Mike Schmidt, Derek Jeter, they're a saint, because you're like, oh, St. Michael, Saint Derek, because you remember the good things. And for me, the haunting I was in has become almost like part of the structure of society. People know about it all over the world now. So I don't have to prove things or share things. I'm kind of like Willie Mays. I'm retired now. I did my bit. I survived it. I did the best I could do. Honestly, I gave 100%. Now I'm done. And hopefully people look back at what I did with some value and say, good job, Chris, or hey, pay for the wrong team, whatever. But
hopefully you're not Pete Rose.
Yeah, Pete Rose. Oh, this by the way.
So you don't do it at all anymore?
This Father Charlie's phone numbers back in the day. We called them for the blessing. So I say some things, but yeah, no, well.
I mean, because you still have experiences, so how can you not?
All right,
Can you not?
You're
still
fair.
love it?
you're having a bad spot here because here's the way it is. What I want and what I should do are different things sometimes, just like in real life. I want the hamburger. Should I have the hamburger? No, eat the carrots, but I have the hamburger. When the Syfy program first hit the airwaves, everybody wanted to be at their events. I had an agent. I got paid money to show up. It was this crazy, life-changing thing. I had no idea what to do. It was bizarre. And people said, come on out. We'll give you $1,000. And we had this. So they would say, here's the ghost hunt. I can't say no if they're paying my hotel fare, my plane, my appearance fee. I'm not going to say no. It's rude. So I agreed to go on ghost hunts because it's what they wanted of me, and I want to be a nice person and give back in fairness. But I had a hard time. Went to Lake George. I heard people screaming. I remember I was at an event with Brian Keno and John Zaffis, and I was hearing these voices. I told people, and then a little bit later, John Zaffis got the same voice on the recorder. I'm like, I told you. I had to pull myself away because I hear too easily, and I don't. Okay, some people fall in love so easy. They fall in love all the time. It's dangerous. My first experience with the paranormal was so negative. It's like your first relationship being terrible. Your first high school girlfriend, boyfriend, they steal your money, they cheat on you, they run you over the coals. I'm done. D-U-N, done.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
So I was emotionally affected in a negative way by the paranormal. Mm-hmm. I don't think I watched any ghost. I never watched the Paranormal State show. I never watched the Conjuring movies. I never saw the Blair Witch. I don't watch any scary movies because I either say this is stupid, doesn't work that way, I know, or this is just not real. This would never happen. How could they put this on the screen? And talking about that, people that I know, a lot of them do make a living on television or from the movies. You know, they do associate themselves with this profession actively. I don't begrudge them that. You know, it's and they'll tell you, yeah, most of it's staged, but hopefully we share vocabulary, content, landscapes, tactics and strategies, architecture. So they're hoping that in the entertainment field of ghosts, they actually educate people and make people more comfortable in talking about their experiences. That's what they tell me, and I'm okay with that, you know. But I had a hard time with being perceived as an expert because I've never won. In fact, I would go to people like John Zaffis or Brian Keno or Tim Shaw, people like that, you know, to say, what do you think about this? And talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren. I thought they didn't like me for a long time. I really admired them, but I thought if I go say hello, they're going to run me out of the town. Like, there's that bad guy again. Years later, 30 years later, I happened to talk to their daughter, Judy Spira. Her and Tony, they run the foundation that Ed and Lorraine Warren set up. Mm-hmm. And I got to go see them speak. And let me tell you, they use the same terminology, the same information. I felt like going back home again. I go back 25 years like, oh my gosh. I love the fact they honor their parents in that way. It's not about them, it's about what the parents did. Kudos to them. It's great that they can appreciate what the parents did. Sometimes you don't like your parents. Anyway, Judy said to me, oh my gosh, you're Chris the Ghost Boy. My mom loved you. And I'm like, no. There are many Chris's. Let me tell you what happened. She explained to me, no, that, you know, she had been, I guess, in the car then, you know, she always didn't stay inside sometimes. And the mom said there was this young man who came up and he could read me. And his aura was like this. And I just couldn't risk holding his hand doing that because then I can't do my show. I can't continue to glean things because he'll glean me and I'll be off my base. But she had a high regard for me that this kid's pretty cool. And Ed, seeing that she was starting to lose her grip on what was happening in the presentation, had to push me aside to keep on going and do her routine. And so that's what happened. And so that I learned about their history and how they began by her having a feeling and him being an artist, and they'd say, let's paint this house because there's ghosts in there. And they start painting. The person comes out and says, what are you doing? Painting your house. Can we come in? Sure. That's how they got their start. You know, $50 here at an elementary school talking for the first time. And they really took the slings and arrows. And people can criticize them all they want, but I admire them for following their dream and for making this a field you can actually, not the occult anymore, actually pursue it without any kind of, you know, being ridiculed outright. And it was nice to know that my 19-year-old mind, my teenage mind, was incorrect. And that, you know, I perceived it wrong, but I didn't have the forethought to actually reach out to them and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't have to, but it's nice to know all these years later. And toward the end, I got to find out about Lorraine's chickens and things like that. And, you know, it was nice. And I actually am very fortunate. I have 2 items from Ed's library, the 2 monks, the Spanish monks back there.
Yeah.
Those are from Ed and Lorraine's library in Connecticut.
That's cool.
Very, very proud to have them in my possession. So it goes to show you that you can think you're incredibly right and be incredibly wrong.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Taryn, because I gotta think about how I want to present this. While
No, go ahead.
well, I'm not pointing here with anybody, but how would you approach a skeptic if they were to tell you that you were crazy, that this didn't happen to you? What would your answer be to somebody like that?
I would say good. You need to start as a skeptic. If you believe to believe it's the rabbit hole, then there's no guidelines, there's no structure. Good for you. But you're going to find out in life that things don't always work the way you think they're going to work. Love, money, career, politics, sports, and the paranormal. So be skeptical. Put an eye to things, a mirror to things, measure, analyze, weigh. But don't forget that you might be wrong. And that's the key. And that's very important. So many times we judge people. Oh, what a loser, what a fool. And then all of a sudden, we're the ones with no job. We're the ones that are divorced. We're the ones with COVID. And that, so I just tell people, please be careful. It's great to be right. It's awesome to be nice, to be kind. Mm-hmm. And that builds the bridge.
Absolutely.
Your individual perception does not make you right.
That's true. It might make you feel good. And that's important too, to feel good about yourself, right? But in the end, your perception is only one of billions. And hopefully you can manage with other people around you to have a nice interactive friendship or relationship with somebody where you're not alone in the world with your rightness, your righteousness. I'm right alone. That's that place to be.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that like I said, I've never seen or any Bigfoot anything, right? So it's hard for me to say for sure that a Bigfoot exists, but I've had people on my show that believe that. And you said something interesting. You said, I believe that she believed, that this is what, and that's what I say. I'm like, I believe the person that they believe they, went through these things, or saw, thought they saw Bigfoot or had whatever. But I also won't say that I 100% don't believe it because how do I know?
Karen, it's human nature. I mean, when I was a kid, I had two sisters. I liked Count Chocula, Nicole liked Frankenberry, most like Boo Berry, and that was our cereals. Come hell or high water, those are our cereals, and
I like Frankenberry,
but that's what happens. And people need to have something they can hold on to. It's a video game, a guild mastership of, or it's an award for archery, whatever it is. I mean, we need things in our life. People fight over Star Wars versus Star Trek for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
even old Star Wars and new Star Wars.
And that's fine. However, that type of dialogue increases your vocabulary, your data, and your argumentation skills, but doesn't actually solve a problem or bring you closer, which is, as they get older, I think a little more important in most scenarios.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter. Like, you should be allowed to like different things.
I teach government class, politics. I had to teach Obama, Trump, Biden. I teach it every day. And you want to talk about hard feelings and anger and violence, especially with kids, it is a rough place to be.
I can't.
When they leave my class, they understand policies, not just the means, the policies about people vote the way they vote. And I tell them, I will never tell you how to vote, but I want you to vote intelligently. It may be the same as me, not as me, but please express your voice, because once you come out of the womb, once you come out of the path, boom, it's cold out here. Life isn't fair. You're born a millionaire or to a single mom on drugs. No one knows what you're dealt with when you come out of that womb. And from there on in, it's unfair. But the one moment where you and Bill Gates are the same power, you and a general, is when you cast your vote at the ballot. One person, one vote. That's where it happens. So I tell them, please express your vote. And I think that's fair,
Yeah.
A lot of political burden is being put on the shoulders of the younger people.
Yeah.
At this point, like the doesn't matter what side of the aisle, whatever you're talking about, but a lot of it is falling on them. And
there's no FDR to inspire them. There's no JFK, no Reagan. There's no one right now that really is doing that to say, let's unite. Even people who respect it, like Obama's respected pretty much, isn't uniting. He's still kind of carping too, like Trump is. So it's like, even the guys who want to act responsibly still are being aggressive about it. It's too bad, because why can't we just say, let's compromise on some things? In the old days, we had
that would be nice.
Republicans, right, who are environmentalists. Democrats are pro-life, and now you can't be either of those things. You have to check all the boxes and separate out. We're the enemies now, and there's no conciliation. That families don't work that way. Neither does the government. And so hopefully someday someone will say to us, "Come on, for the kids' sake, let's just solve some problems together."
That would be so awesome.
We cry, we laugh. We're the same people. let's for a couple seconds work together, please. But it's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Well, only because it's all about money.
Yeah, I know it's rough.
Money and separation, and
It's tough.
it's bad.
Well, if everyone still has time, right? We're coming up on the hour. I do want to go back to
10 minutes.
I do want to go back to 1985. Back
Well,
to
you weren't born yet, right?
I was born March 23rd of that year. I'm an Aries.
Guilty as charged, Your Honor.
So I actually remember Back to the Future in the theaters. Do you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think you would have. Came out that year.
All right, so let's go back to Patricia's question. Spirit or a demon? You do have a description of what this entity was, and technically committed suicide, right?
When we were in college, the people around me wanted to figure out who it was, what's going on. If I wouldn't do that, they would figure it out for me. And there had been stories of a teenage suicide, possibly in that dorm room, if not that dorm. And so the working theory then was that also is played out on the sci-fi show School Spirits, that there's a suicide. And when I graduated college, that was still my thought because I didn't want to really investigate it too much. Years later, 15, 20 years later, my mother was retired from her job doing some genealogy. And I remember she gave me a call and she said, "Did you know that we had relatives, ancestors who fought in the War for Independence in Great Britain?" I'm like, "That's cool, Mom." "Yeah, they fought with up in the western part of New York where your college was." "Cool. That's nice, right?" And then 2 weeks later, "Did you know that your relatives found a dead guy who was like hung in a tree by your college?" I'm like, "What?" Now we had called this ghost Tommy. Tommy, can you hear me? Tommy knockers, all those things, right? And yes. And Jeff said to me independently, "What should you call the ghost?" I'm like, "I don't know. Don't talk to it. It's not like we're, hey, how's the kids?" "Well, pick a name." I picked Tommy. I had a parakeet named Tommy. I just picked the name Tommy to get on my back. But Paul picked Tommy, and we all picked Tommy independently. It's like, how can they all pick Tommy? And it turned out that Tommy Boyd, was found by my relatives in the year in which he was killed.
Oh, wow.
In American attack.
So everybody was
from the college where I used to run by every day. So that was as bizarre as potentially was the haunting itself, that there would be a connection ancestrally. And Penn State University looked into that, and they were able to verify the genealogy where, in fact, the Boyd Sullivan campaign was called the Torture Tree. And Thomas Boyd was told by his scouts, "Don't go that way. It's territory it's hostile. Don't go there." He didn't believe it. People were tortured and killed and maimed. Washington said, "Burn the place down." So that this Trail of Tears up to Niagara, where they all died in the wintertime. So that one event was pivotal in the history of our country, and especially Western New York. And how bizarre is that? And so it turns out that when I talked to this spirit at the very end, when I finally talked to it, I asked him finally, "Where are you from?" He said, "Danville." And there's Danville, New York down the road. I thought there. But Thomas Boyd, who was killed, was from Danville, Pennsylvania. So 20 years before, he was telling me who he was, where he was, but I wasn't able to quite understand. I just wanted to end it and get it over with. Come on, go. You remember when you were in kindergarten or first grade and some person likes you? And they say, "Do you like me?" Circle one, yes or no. You're like, "Oh, no, you tell them. That was like the haunting for me. I just wanted it to end. This thing would not leave me alone, whether it wanted to control me or possess me or whatever it wanted. It would not leave me alone. And Beth heard it say, "Chris, Linda, Chris." It only called my name to everybody. And so I wish it wasn't the case. And when we finally got the ghost on tape, the EVP saying, "Help me, Chris, help me," people were celebrating like, "Holy cow. It understands. It's speaking our language. It communicates. It really wants you." I was distraught. I said, "Well, now what do I do? I can't help it. I mean, you're all celebrating. Hooray, hooray. I can't help it. What do I to do now?" It's like bringing like a peace treaty to a World War II battle. I can't do anything with this. It was horrible to me to know it wanted my help, and I would just throw things at it. So, TV shows are cool, movies are cool, but they never quite capture the stress, the quiet stress of doubt, of fear, of it's cool to show like demon feet and blood and fire in these movies, but the real fear is fear of not being good enough to survive it, of not being worthy of the challenge, and that was the case for me. I was never a smart person or anything, but I was a nice person, and I tried hard, and the best I could do in that moment. I'm proud that I had friends who cared enough about me to help me see through it.
Well, also you're human, and it's human to be afraid of the unknown. And honestly, even to this day, we can sit here and say we still don't know. we have some things, but what is it?
Yeah.
What are we recorded? We don't know. So that's just natural, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
no matter.
People, Taryn, over the years have speculated what this was. Was it an attachment? Was it a spirit? Was it a demon? Was it John Zaffis felt it was an attachment. Other people have had similar opinions. What I can tell you is this. Looking back now, at the time when I said it was evil. It was vicious, evil, corrupt, horrifying. Well, looking back, I think it was desperate. I think it was a lost soul. I think it was a soul who had not found rest, who felt guilt over its actions in life, and saw in it a relative, a person, a friend, someone who could hear and see it and say, listen, you're my chance. I mean, imagine if you're walking by yourself down a dark street and there's a body of water next to you and you see a small child in the water drowning. Like, please help me, but you can't swim. What do you do?
Right.
Do you jump in and go down with them? Or do you say, sorry, can't, not worth it. I'm going to walk away now. And I think in me, it saw a person wanting to jump in against my better judgment and help. And I think once I tried to start helping, it just latched on saying, please pull me out. Please get me out of this place. And our final conversation, which took place in, the middle of April, kind of lent itself toward that conclusion. And so I don't think it was vicious or evil. I think it was desperate. Right. Even your family pet, a cat or a dog, if they're hurt badly, they'll snap at you. They'll scratch at you if they're in pain. And I think this is a case of a human soul in pain, just not knowing how to say anything else because I'm trying to get rid of it, bless the room, go away. And I think it's saying, no, I need you here, and getting angry at me for turning my back on it.
Right.
Absolutely. So if somebody was able to explain that to you back then, do you think your continuation in the paranormal field would have been different if you were able to see that then?
I think so. I think so, because then there would have been a rationale, not just this horrible experience that shouldn't have happened. And
right.
Luckily for me, some events that have occurred, like my understanding more about disability, more about mental challenges, has helped me as an educator, more about emotional conflict and fear, has assisted me in life. That's what you choose to do, right? You can either bury it or deal with it. I dealt with it over time. But, it's interesting. I remember as I was lying there thinking I was going to die on the bathroom floor, I remember saying to God, not knowing if he was there or not, if he existed or not, if there was a God. I remember just, I can't just say, to express. I said, God, you picked the wrong person. You got the wrong guy. I can't do this. And here we are decades later, where I'm talking about this lost soul. And maybe he picked the right guy. Maybe I was the right place at the right time to share this experience. Because it's really amazing looking back at all the evidence, the eyewitness accounts, and what can be learned from this, So maybe, Patricia, maybe you got it. And sometimes you don't see, what's in store for us. They say, if one door opens, one door closes. That's more like a prison to me. But maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the way. Maybe we're put in a place. But see, here's the hard part for me. Is there free will or predestination? If things are meant to be, then is there free will? If there's free will, then things can be meant to be. Just probability and chance. So right. I think about for 25 years in my room at night when I'm thinking, looking at the ceiling, saying, how much of that is meant to happen or not? And who knows? I mean, if I don't meet Jeff that day, things are different. If I don't pick that college, I go to Wittenberg, Quinnipiac, or Wittenberg inside of colleges, things are different. So I made those choices, and there I was,
Yeah, which is interesting. That's one of the reasons that I do the show, because, or I'm sorry, not show. Private investigations are the same way. We get a case, like the last 5 private cases that have come my way. I haven't had to do an investigation because you talk to the family, right. You help them. So it would be just like if somebody would have done that for you, then you weren't scared and you weren't living in that fear and you weren't living in that anger and that anxiety and, right. and all that stuff, where that just changes the energy.
Taryn, we tried so hard. We figured the priest blesses the room, it's over. Wrong. The parapsychologist, the professor of psychology gets the evidence. Wrong. The more we had to stop it, the more amped up we put. More get involved. This is more exciting. Then I became the ghost boy. I wasn't Chris. I was the ghost boy. The papers came to interview me. I had the big mailboxes outside. Behind the big mailboxes, I would hide. People would point at me. My friends would be like, "Listen, dude, we're hanging out tonight. Okay, make some more time. I'm gonna give you a call. No, we'll give you a call. Don't worry." I'm like, "You sure? Yeah, we're good. Thanks."
Yeah.
Isolation. I was like, weird. I did nothing wrong, and yet because I was perceived as the ghost boy, that was their perception. I was shunned by some folks, and that was a really weird experience.
Yeah, I would have probably been the opposite.
I don't.
Let's hang out. Let's go investigate. Come on, why aren't you use? Let's just do this.
Well, if you look back on it now, so in your present day, if you could do it all over again, would you not want to go through that, or are you happy now that it happened, that you can educate yourself, you have knowledge, and would you have changed your life if you could? Is what I'm asking.
No. Emotionally, I say yes. It was horrifying, but I have inspired more people and done more good, and led to more conversation and given more healing from surviving this than I could ever have dreamed. I wish I had shared this 20 years earlier. I wish I had, I mean, not for my own person. I mean, yes, as a person, I wish it never happened. I kept running fast, made Olympics. Who knows what could happen? Sky's the limit for me personally, selfishly. But looking about the world around me and people around me, people really seem to enjoy learning about what happens and what life can give you, And so I wish looking back, I had been a little braver, a little wiser. I wish I'd taken more photographs. I wish I had talked to the ghost more often, because I can tell you honestly, I spoke with it. It would talk to me. I saw it clear as I can see you on the screen. And it was just a weird, I remember I was, after the attack in the shower in my dorm, I don't shower there for a while. If you've been attacked someplace, you avoid that street corner for a while just to things slow down. So I would shower at the gym, at the big gang showers, they called them. I remember I was taking the shower. I looked up, I saw the ghost in the door like this. I'm like, holy cow, even here? Right? Then after I left, I went out to get my clothes on. The guy goes, dude, there was some dude standing by the door watching you. His head was tilted. He was wearing some kind of strange ass clothes from like the old days. He was watching. So he had seen this ghost too. And I said, are you sure? I didn't see anything. I lied to him because I was afraid to get him involved too. And the whole thing, I lied. I said, I didn't say anything. But I thought, my gosh, this kid just saw the same thing I did. No leading the witness. He didn't know what I'd seen before, who I was, but he saw the same thing I was seeing. And so it happened time and time again. So I could swear in the Bible if it means anything. I'll go to my grave saying there was a ghost in my room. There was a ghost in that college. It was there. I spoke to it. What it means, I wish I knew. I wish I could share more. But I do know this. When I did get to talk to it, I tried to express one thing, and that was to request it find some peace for itself. I remember when I finally came down to talk to it, I just said, listen, you have to find rest. You can't stay here. People are getting hurt.
Right.
People had a hard time with this. We had people get attacked. We had a suicide during that time. We don't talk about it because the parents were beside themselves. But one of the kids kept hearing the ghost call his name. He killed himself on the weekend, So that was horrifying. I didn't help him either. Help him out. I'm like, how can I help him? I didn't help him to help himself. So that could have been me because he didn't have the help that I had. So that's a tough thing to live with too. And one of the reasons I talked to the ghost is because I had the burden of people killing themselves and attacks, and it's horrifying what was going on in that place. My roommate left the college for good. He just left us behind, left his books behind, his clothes, just took off and never came back. And so it was a tough time. But and I can't believe we're talking about it. I mean, it's like this for me. This is the best way I can describe the analogy. Think of the worst month of your life, the worst occasion of your life. Mm-hmm. Now talk about it 24/7. Write a book about it. Share the most horrifying moments, and yet it's celebrated. Who could have in a million years this distraction I resented, I despised, has become what I'm known for, identified with. And the whole Ghost Boy thing. Look, I'm almost 60 years old. I'm old. I'm saying Ghost Boy, but people still look at those pictures and think there's the Ghost Boy. They know who that is. And so I don't care who my name is. It's Fred, John, Chris, whatever. But they know about a kid who went to college and something happened there, something terrifying. And his friends and he worked through it and they survived it. And they came out with a message of hope and positivity. They don't want money. They don't want your jewelry. They don't want anything from you. They just want you to please enjoy your life, make amends with your family, eat your food, dance to music, and appreciate what you have while it's here. And that's the bottom line for me.
Do any of them ever talk about it?
The other people who were there?
Yeah.
But it took a long time. I was the primary source. I was not going to talk about it either because that puts me out there. I could lose. Back in the 80s, it was the occult. You could lose your job, kick out of your church, lose relationships. It wasn't like today where it's cool to go places and ghost hunt and paranormal investigate. So it was a bad thing. So my dad protected me and would keep things repressed down. And I would deny it was me for a while because I don't want to be associated with that. I want to have a normal life. But over time, I trusted people who said, listen, share, it's worth it. Trust us. We'll create this movie. We'll do this film. Trust us. We'll share your experience in a positive way. And I trusted them, and it worked remarkably because they had my back, best interests at heart.
You just hit base exactly where I'm going. In your stomach, seeing the reenactment, seeing the way they built the set. Holy shit, this is about me. How did that make you feel that you are about to watch your experience as actors are portraying your life? Tell me that feeling.
For those who haven't been on a set in a TV studio for a place like that, or an independent film, oftentimes the outside, some old brick building or some place you recognize, inside is like a different world. Like, oh my gosh, there's this room and this room. It's like going back in time. In fact, Please Talk Me, the film, they had the same comforters, the same post. I could not believe what I was seeing. In fact, it was so realistic. At one point in time, the actor playing Jeff said to the actor playing Chris, and I went, what? I'm like, cut. I talked for the filming because it seems like I was part of that moment. Like they said, Mr. Cesare, please, I know that I was so embarrassed that I did that because I was so involved in that moment. So it was pretty weird to see, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating that people take the time to create that aspect. But I can tell you that everything that you see on TV is a show, and no matter how good the show, it never quite captures the real thing. Documentaries are a little different. Documentaries sometimes can really get to the heart of things, and that Please Talk to Me is like a docu-horror that's done by Mark Tree and Bill Edwards. That was me working with them directly. That's close you're going to get to that, where it's not all special effects and digital hoo-has. It's the psychological trauma of what went. And because that was being made, Syfy said, whoa, hold it. Don't put it out. We want first dibs on this. So Syfy, with that Mark Burnett dude, he wanted first dibs. So he had Please Talk to Me stop the production because they had like $100,000 they're using theirs, have first dibs on it. That helped them say, we got this out first, the story. And then it helped the movie because then people said, oh, I've seen it on Syfy. Wow. And then all of a sudden things got wacky. This one gentleman said, you should write a book. I'm like, I don't write books. I said, well, I read a paragraph. I wrote the book and when I'm Coast to Coast George Noory, number 5 on the bestseller list. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So it proved to me to have some faith in myself, that people do want to hear messages of positivity. And look, like I said, people should have their own beliefs. It should be encouraged. But please don't be closed-minded because sometimes your beliefs will adjust, modify, and grow and change. Look at parenting. If you're a parent, you have to adjust sometimes as a parent or things get really rocky. That's just the way it is. There's no guide to say, and every kid's different. What work with her, that work with him, and that's life. So when I go to these events, I appreciate it. I'm not lying on the floor bleeding to death, right, in the bathroom. I go there. I share with all my heart. Sometimes I get a little sweaty and tired because I give everything I have because I want them to know I appreciate them taking the time to listen to me because I don't have to. And it means the world to me. And if there are people out there right now who just would love to share their story, their experience, but can't do it, I'm a fortunate one. I'm lucky it worked out in the way it did. And so I'm very thankful for that, and my prayers to those who can't do it.
Right. Amen.
Yeah. Well,
some deep shit, Chris.
That was deep shit. Right? I think we've got what we needed out of this one. I mean, your story is absolutely incredible. And the way you come across, you are one humble individual. I met you in person. Tara, you met him as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't let him say he's not a motivational speaker. Yes, he is. Because you're very well spoken, and you literally, the things you say and everything like that can really
look at that dude
inspire somebody.
That's the book. First day I met him, he signed my copy. There it was. He just handed me a book, and I said, I'm definitely going to have you on my show when I get back. I just approached him out of nowhere, and that's what it was at the convention. And that was an amazing experience. You were one of the nicest people I've met.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So at this point,
you approached him at the convention, not even knowing that you two had already met.
We have already been on a show. Term, we've already been on a show together, like a Christmas show, a friggin' game show. I didn't even know it. So Tom showed me that shit last night. So at this time,
I remember some things.
Chris, I want you to tell the world how to get a hold of you. We do have your website, which we're going to put across the bottom at the moment. But let everyone know what you got going and where to find you.
You can probably find me at Hannaford Shopping Center. I usually get I get fresh fruits and vegetables there. And you mean I got it.
Oh, he's right down there, man. That's where you find him.
Right. Well, as much as research as Dom does, he probably has your address and your phone number, your license plate number.
which side of the bed you sleep on?
He seemed nice enough.
Tell you what, I usually do not research any guests. However, though,
I'm not dissing you. I think it's awesome you did that. That's pretty good.
He's been one of the only ones I've actually been nervous with to have on. I usually don't research any guests. I usually just kind of, I'd rather go and stupid and then learn. But when I met
Imagine
you
that.
and like you have a book, you're in a movie, I'm like, all right, let me have a little bit of a background here, especially when you gave me the book, and I'm just like, all right, I got to get my shit together here. So I think it all kind of worked out.
If COVID doesn't get too bad, if COVID stays a little low, but we don't know if it's going to or not, I'm going to be at the Rochester Parafest. That's near Geneseo, New York. That's where the haunting occurred. March 26th, 27th up there. I'm going to be at the New Jersey Unity Festival, the 8th annual one. That's July 23rd. I'll be at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
I will be there this year. I
Yep.
guarantee it. I guarantee.
Selma Mansion
I
will be there in September. So things pop up over time usually. Now that things are starting to hopefully get a little better with these variants. You know, when these things first started happening in 2014, I went to 57 events, more than one a week.
Wow.
I just lived the life, and then I ate too much fast food and didn't feel good anymore. So now I just paid myself.
You said Selma in September?
Yeah, September. I think it's.
Let me know, man. I will be there. I will be there.
17, 18 is the week. Yep. Just gonna budget that by bill. So yeah. So
I got to meet you in person. I mean, we've hung out a few times now, and well, this one
I told
included.
you. I warned you, Tom. I'm much smarter and much taller on these interviews, so I won't impress you at all. So
Well, you know, I got to warn you, I'm much better looking in person.
both ways. If I can say one thing, if you don't mind, if I can thank your audience first for watching your show specifically, because what you do is exceptional. You know, you provide a format by which people can learn, share an experience. So I watched you a couple times now. I really enjoy it. I'm happy to be on your show, not an obligation. I love it. And the second thing is I want to thank them for taking the time to listen in tonight. I really do mean it. We don't know if we have one day on the planet left or 100 years, so let's enjoy it, and please have a safe, healthy new year.
Damn right.
See that? Now don't you feel like you want to go up and go out and do something?
Motivation.
I'm missing my soundboard right now.
Indeed. All right,
Oh,
Taryn, you're up, my friend. Where do we find you?
Paranormal Brew. You just go to my Facebook page or YouTube, Paranormal Brew. BB3 TV. I stream live on there.
Soon to be youtube.com/paranormal brew.
Yeah.
Soon. We'll do it.
And then parapost.net and then Paranormal King Radio Network. I think I got everybody. Oh, and Unrestricted Paranormal too.
And BB3 TV.
I said that.
I'm just saying it again.
What time and day is your show, Taryn? I mean, we know, but just for the audience as well.
Oh, it's a Wednesday, every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Absolutely. And
sometimes 7:35.
Like, share, and follow, and subscribe to Taryn. She works very hard. Amazing woman. And she's part of our family for sure. All right, Tom Ass.
Okay, Tom Ass. How you can find me, first and foremost.
The S on the end, the other S.
Listen, do not define me. I will pronounce my name the way I want to, and you cannot tell me what is grammatically and what did I say, syllabically correct. No. Syllable. No. You could find me first and foremost on Dom and Tom's World at BB3. So you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/BB3TV. YouTube. We're on there. You just have to search us. We don't have a unique URL yet because we don't have 100 subscribers. And you can find us on Twitch too. Twitch.tv/BB3TV.
For like video games.
No. People are starting to do shows on there now, so we are getting in on that.
On there to do it.
I'll show you. We'll show you all that, man. We don't have, the only people that have access to the Twitch right now are me and Dom. It was an experiment. And every time we go live there's always one viewer on Twitch every time we go live. So that alone constitutes that everybody else is going to get the username and password, so everybody else will be able to go there too.
Absolutely.
So we have that. You can also find me by myself on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/This Is Tom's World. All one word, no punctuation, no spaces. This is Tom's World. You can see me go on different adventures and stuff like that. I have a really, really cool video coming up very soon. My first documentary style video, and I am super excited to get it out there. And everybody, make sure you go there, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I have 230 some left to go before I'm at 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, make sure you do that. And there's also a Facebook for This Is Tom's World as well. Facebook.com/This Is Tom's World, all one word, no punctuation, no spaces.
Absolutely.
Sound like
All
you
right.
said a lot.
I had a lot of information there.
You guys could find me on TikTok, grave_guys. We go in there and clean graves for the military, old school Confederate, Union soldiers, any kind of military there is, children, 1800s and up, anyone that's forgotten, any graves. We do it out of respect. So check us out there. We got a lot of videos coming up, stories behind them. Exclusively, you could find me on BB3 TV only. Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Real Talk with Dom. At this point, I usually would close the show down.
And whatever day we decide for
Dom
Dom and Tom's World.
Dom and Tom's World, you had said it. Dom and Tom's World, we have to pick our night again. We are officially back. We just got to pick our night. Our hosts do come first in BB3 TV. We usually stop the show at this point, but tonight we have something special. Our friends and family over at Scurryface, scurryface.com. We will be playing. Tom, explain some of this too. Explain Scurryface to everyone.
So Scurryface, for the most part, is a bunch of like a network of haunt actors, and they you know, I mean, they do the physical haunts during the Halloween season and stuff like that, but they work all year long. They do all different kinds of things, all different benefits and stuff like that. And right now, at this point, Scurryface is starting their Scare Actor Spectacular, which is the SAS. This is the 4th year that they're doing this, where you can go there and you can check out all the different haunt actors. You can vote for whatever ones you want. Currently, right now, the Unright family, they are our friends, they're our family. Please go and vote for them.
Chaos, but and Defaced.
Exactly. Chaos, Squeaks, and Defaced. Make sure you go check them out. They're all on there. You can see their bios and stuff like that and everything. But you could check out everybody on there and vote for whoever you want. So scurryface.com. They're also on Facebook. They're on Twitch. They're on like every social media.
So as we leave you in a moment, we're going to pull ourselves down. By all means, everyone, BB3 TV, like, share, follow, subscribe, and most importantly, enjoy. So stick around right now and you will see the Scurryface commercial. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Check this out.